for dropping by. Today I've pushed the camera back a bit because it's raining. Obviously the farther away the microphones are, the less it's going to pick that up. That's only just started, but I've got to crack on today. Today is going to be about nothing and everything. We'll work that out then. It's not a quiz, but in my notes I last watered my pots, which at the moment my holy clay pots and my ordinary pots are on the same watering and feeding cycle because they're not getting much, so they're okay. As we head into the growing season proper, the holy clay pots will come round a lot sooner because of the clay pots with all the holes in and the chunky bark, so they will dry to a point where I need to deal with them faster than that, but not at the moment. So in my notes at the moment, that lot last got watered with some feed last time round on the 2nd of February. Today is the 14th of February and they haven't even been looked at in between. So what today is, is trying to get through, which I should do, all of those pots in one go. What I won't be doing is the cooler, shadier set, because they were done a couple of days later, so like the 4th, and some of those will still be wet, so they can wait till tomorrow. I don't like to try and do too much in one go because I'll get slapdash towards the end because I'll get fed up basically trying to do too much in one go. So the idea today is I've got to keep my eye on my battery because that's not low enough to change yet, but it's not far off it. It says there's about 50 minutes on there. So what I'm going to do today is that camera is going to go on and off frequently. So the video will end up being bits, yeah. But as I water without the camera on, I'll stop on anything of interest. So anything where something new's happening, or where I see a problem, or where a plant might need something done with it to deal with it as such. And we'll stop on those and have a look. So they'll be completely random. I haven't got a clue what's going to be in this video. It will be as and when I pick something up and think that's worth having a chat about, or water it and put it back sort of thing. So that's what today's going to be about. And like I say, it's about nothing but about everything, because the sort of things that are going to come up are totally unpredictable. You know, there could be bugs, there could be desperately needs a repot, could need some leaves trimmed, it could have a serious problem that I haven't noticed that's come about recently. So there's all sorts of things that could crop up. So I'll put the camera off and I will restart it again as and when I get to the first plant to have a chat about, and we'll see where we go. Okay, plant number 1. This is a problem as opposed to bugs or anything else, or a repot. This is one of my Latourias. It's a relatively recent acquisition, primary cross between Eximium and Rhodostictum, and it has failing leaves, which I've just noticed now as I've picked it up. The leaves I was sort of accepting as probably just on the oldest part of the plant, but that is not true about this particular cane here. This is what the leaves look like, and those buds look like they're blasting. So if it's the leaves and possibly the buds, I immediately work down the plant, and let's have a look at the cane. That cane is soft. I can squeeze it. It's either hollow or it could have liquid inside it. So plant number 1, we follow that cane down to the base, and with our trusty scissors we take it off at the base. So we take the whole cane off because it's not right. So I don't want it left there. While I'm there, there are several other old shriveled canes that were there when I got it. This is nothing to do with the problem, but while I'm at it, let's tidy it up. So another one over here. I know I'm off camera, but I can't keep moving the camera all the time. Another one there. There's several canes coming off. This is just to tidy up really, and then I'm going to look at the next cane that's got some dodgy leaves. So I'm just comparing with other canes. The other canes are solid, you know, rock hard, you can't squeeze them. And this other cane with the dodgy leaves is also soft, so that one's coming off as well. I'll show you what I mean. Where is the problem? It's hiding. It's in there. Now can you see the difference in the colour on the cane? Yeah? And therein lies the problem. That part of the cane is nice and firm. That part's not. It's soggy. There's liquid in there. That's some sort of infection. So better off at the base. Yeah? Same with the other one. This one has discoloured all the way up the length of the cane and is soft over the length of the cane. Yeah? So that's those two. The other things I was cutting off were things like this. These are just shriveled canes. They don't have a problem. They're just old. Old and tired like me. And I've missed one. I've just seen another one. Latouria types do eventually drop their leaves. They're not permanently green. Now all I'm doing is just having a look at the rest of the canes. Are there any other discoloured ones? Are there any others that feel soft? If you're going to do a job, do it all. Do it properly. Okay, now what could be the problem? The problem could be that it's too cold. And because I haven't had it long, I've just missed another one. So they're hiding in under the leaves as I turn the plant round. It could just be that it's objecting to the cold, because we're getting continuous cold now, and we're not getting, the only daytime temperatures I'm getting are temperatures that I give the plant. In other words, they're raised artificially. We're not getting normal temperatures. So that's all the old canes off. There's still plenty of canes left. There's still plenty of leaves left. All I hope is that whatever the problem was, which looked like some sort of bacterial infection, that could have been caused by cell-related issues due to low temperatures, where cells start to collapse, and once you get damage, stuff will get in there. It'll just go for it. So I've taken off everything that I can see that's potentially a problem. The canes that are left are nice and firm. The new growths have got nice leaves on, yeah, and we have spikes progressing in places. We've only cut one cane off with a spike, and this Latouria could probably do with watering more often, because it's in a holy clay pot with a rock in it, so it's actually only got that much media in it. Yeah, but I've had more problems with Latourias in the winter time having soggy roots in the cold than I've had the roots staying a bit dry in the winter in the cold. So that's plant number one. Everything's getting a flush today, so you know I can just add water in as and when. Now unfortunately I shall have to get some alcohol and do my scissors now, because I wasn't just cutting an old leaf or something like that. I was cutting a plant that potentially has a bacterial infection. So potentially that's now on my scissor blade, so I need to clean them before we touch another plant. So that's plant number one. Okay, next plant is this Dendrobium alexandriae. Now there's nothing obviously wrong with this, apart from the fact it has not put a new growth up for some time, and that some time, in other words, last time it tried, it aborted it, and it hasn't tried to grow a new growth since. It's been in bloom a very long time, so basically it's not a solution, it's not really a problem, it's a potential help to the plant. So what we do with that is take flower spike off. Yeah? Now with any luck, that will trigger it back into growth, because it now has, as far as its internal makeup is concerned and its hormones and all this sort of stuff, it now cannot possibly reproduce because it has no means of getting a seed pod. So it needs to grow growth to get to that stage again. Okay, and many plants will respond in that way. So that's all that's getting is the flower spike taking off. It might need a repot, but that's not now. At the end of the day, it's a Latouria type, and at this time of year they are not at their best because of my low temperatures and the shorter days. So now is not a good time to disturb them unless you absolutely have to. Just leave them be, let them sit there, suffer the cold quietly, and then wait till everything gets better, nice longer days, better daytime and nighttime temperatures. It'll feel like growing, and it'll take to the disturbance with far less setback, if any. So that's that one. I hope we're not forming a pattern here. Right, so the next one's a biggie. This is the Tahitian Dancer, and the 2 remaining flower spikes have now finished. So work on this really consists of getting the stakes out. They're no longer required. Just make the thing look untidy. Take the clips off, stakes out, and scissors out of the alcohol. Take the spikes off. Down near the base, that's the sort of place I would take a spike off, just above the leaf. I don't cut down inside the leaf with my spikes, simply because it's often a place where the scale will get, and leaving the spike on just enables me to part the leaf so that I can have a look in there and see what they're up to, if they're there. And this one has had scale in the past, so potentially it might still have some lurking. They will be on the weaker, older parts of the plant, which when I get there in a minute and we come back to the screen, most of these trims are going on the floor. Pick them up in a minute. Right, so now we can get it out of its black pot and look at a problem I know is coming soon. It's not really there yet. Now, what's happened with this is that it doesn't like being inside that black pot. This is cold and damp, it's wet. Yeah, that's on the outside of the pot. It's cold and damp. There's no air circulation because it fits in that black pot too tightly. The idea of the black pot is purely to keep the light out. Here comes the rain again. So the problem I've had with this one is too many aerial roots that have died back. Yeah, they're just brittle, they've gone. But it's got a reasonable root system in the pot, including an awful lot of mass that's gone round the top of the pot. It's a solid mass of roots there. There's no media, yeah? And what this needs doing is probably splitting, but it needs getting out of this pot. It's been in there a while now, not a huge amount of time, it's been in there a while. It's in Orchid bark rather than my new preference type bark. And that's all it's in. In fact, actually there's some sphagnum moss in there as well, so yes, it needs a repot. And when I give it a repot, these older parts of the plant here, so it's just in 2 sections. You've got the old part of the plant there, and the new part of the plant there. And these are the new growths that have just flowered. Yeah? So these, as the season progresses, will become the old part of the plant. This part of the plant is no longer required. The leaves are starting to go anyway. Once they start to yellow, they can't produce chlorophyll anymore. There's probably 1 good leaf left in that section of the plant and several leafless bulbs. Yeah? So that whole section of the plant can come off, leaving this bit in front of my hand, which from the other side is that bit. And it's going to end up being a long, thin plant. Ideally suited to going flat on a mount, except for its size. It is rather large, and the flower spikes are very long. So although it would grow well on a mount, and it's a perfect shape to go flat on a mount, what will probably happen with it is it will get cut in half, and the 2 halves put back to back in the centre of a new pot, so that they've got some room to grow towards the edge of the pot in all directions, and that pot is not too much bigger than needed. I don't believe in potting oncidium types in large pots. They don't seem to do so well. So that's the plan for that. So why don't I get on with it? Why I don't get on with it is the new growths haven't started yet, and I'm not moving on that plant until I see them. The media's not old and sad enough to become an emergency repot. So what we're doing here is looking for new growths on these. they will come out through these bracts. Yeah, they will come out near the base of the plant, but not yet. See now, how deceiving is this? I'm getting wet. This pot is all horrible and wet, so it would be very tempting to think it doesn't need watering. Yes, it does. The inside of the pot's bone dry. So we'll give it a water. It doesn't need an absolute soak. What have I just said? No new growth yet. Roots are stable, not growing. Leaves aren't growing. It's not growing. Why does it need a load of water? Will do soon though, but it'll instigate its new bulbs, new growths from within its resources. So that's something else it doesn't need at the moment, is feeding. It's not growing. And I haven't got a bigger black pot, so what I'm going to do this time is not put it back in the black pot. I'm going to leave it open, get a bit more air around the pot and in underneath it. And if it starts to get a bit of algae, I know it doesn't matter because it's coming out of the pot soon. So that's that one. On to the next one. Right, one more on this shelf, and then we're into a new place then. This is my Dendrobium prima donna, nobly type. And much to my annoyance, Ince's is actually in bloom, so he's beaten me to it this year. His prima donna was a piece I ripped off of here. He had quite a few plants that he'd actually bought off of me, and he's always sung the praises of this, so I managed to tear a piece off the base. It really was just that, I tore a piece off. It wasn't a kiki, it was just like the side bit of the plant, come off. And that went in the box as well. But my buds are swelling nicely now, and when you look at this plant you think, what on earth is wrong with those leaves? You've got a virus, you've got a disease, it's all horrible. No, it's not. This is, I forget the name of it, my something or other cell collapse. And it's caused, you use the word cold, but you have to use it carefully because it can be applied to the plant in many ways. It's a cell collapse basically, it's cell structural damage. Now, a plant will be more prone to that if it's lacking in calcium, which gives the plant a lot of its strength. It builds the cell walls and hardens them up, which is why some people say if you've got plenty of calcium in your plant, you're highly unlikely to get bugs because they can't get in there because you've got a good solid cell structure. So if it's lacking in that, it will become more prone, but that's not a cause. It's just, that's just a sideline really. But what causes this cell collapse is sudden cold. Now how can that happen then? That can happen on a really warm summer's day by spraying it with freezing cold water straight out your tap. It's a shock to the cells, yeah? So that can do it. So that's nothing to do with watering, yeah? Nothing to do with the ambient temperature in your grow space. It's the fact that you put freezing cold water on leaves that are warm, yeah? It can happen on a warm, hot summer's day when a plant's metabolism is working fast, yeah? Everything's moving through the plant quickly, and obviously moisture and excess and gases and stuff like that is coming out the top of the plant expecting to be replaced at the bottom, and you pour freezing cold water in it and it gets up into the plant really quickly and doesn't get a chance to warm up properly. That's another way it can be caused. And it can just be caused by it got too cold. Simple as that. And it will affect the plant. If it's just the cold temperature, the air temperature, it can affect the plant weeks later. The plant looks fine, and I think this happened on mine along with a couple of other plants when my heater failed last winter. And then it was the spring before all these marks appeared. Well, it can take that long for the cells to finally fail. Cells to finally fail. It's a new set, I'm breaking them in. Yeah, so if you look at the new canes, there's not a mark on them. They're lovely. Yeah, so the canes that grew since then are fine. It's just mainly these three older ones that were there with leaves on when the cold hit it. Yeah. This is a nobly type. It's got three canes on here that are shriveling, that have been tied together for tidiness. Yeah, tied together for tidiness, and for extra tidiness they're coming off at the base, but not yet. I want to wait till there's more growth going on, because obviously as these canes grow, they grow fast and they're amassing energy into the total plant, where these canes won't be missed so much. Yeah, but always with a nobly, if you're going to trim some older canes off, make sure they've dropped all their leaves and make sure they're starting to shrivel, otherwise they're still serving a purpose. And watch your total canes. Yeah, if you've got 10 canes on your plant, don't cut 6 off, will you? If you've got 20 canes on your plant, you might cut 6 off. If you've got 3 canes on your plant, it might be better not to cut any off. It's relative to the overall size of the plant. And this would have, if I cut those 3 off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would have 7, so it's got 10 minus 3. Yeah? Just about. But how about 12 minus 3, because it's growing 2 nice strong new ones? That might be better. Anyway, it's a nobly. The buds are pushing away from the cane. Yeah? So we don't miss that out on a watering run. That needs some help. Yeah, this time it's just water. Next time my pots get done, they'll probably have a low feed, and this one will get some. Yeah, even though you know, according to the calendar, we shouldn't be giving it anything yet. Well, I don't know. It is Valentine's Day. That's the magic thing in the books, isn't it? In the ancient scrolls, you don't give them any water from whatever it is. Guy Fawkes Night or something like that. No, it's Halloween, from Halloween to Valentine's Day. And as it's Valentine's Day today, I must water it. Right, that's that shelf done. We'll move on to something else now. I'm mucking about again, as usual. And the next one, excuse the rain, it's getting harder and harder. This is Gilded Tower Mystic Maze. It's got 2 new growths that have stopped growing. They have not produced anything like a reasonable root system. In the bin. Had enough of it. That wasn't the plan for today, but I'm not putting up with plants that won't grow, that are actually quite large and take up lots of space, like that one does. That's been given so many chances that I've had enough of it. It's not a good version of that plant, because others have got that plant and it's a vigorous grower and reliable bloomer. Well, mine isn't. I don't think it's actually bloomed since the blooms that were on it when I got it. So, out. It's that one done. Okay, we don't always pick on a plant because there's something wrong with it. There is still something wrong with this. It's still a bit wobbly in the pot. But this was repotted with a risk element, because its new growths were quite well advanced and they didn't have a new root system underneath them, and I took the chance. We'll repot it and hope that those new growths produce the roots. Well, they're at it. Let's move the tag out of the way. I don't know why that's always in the way of what you want to see, but we do have good new roots forming at the base of this plant now. It's still a bit wobbly. There is a stake holding it reasonably still, and this time of year it's not getting picked up very often. It only gets picked up to be watered, and I handle it carefully. I've got my finger on the bulbs to stop them moving, yeah? So I treat it carefully, and yeah, almost bone dry, so good time to give it a flipping good soak, and that'll encourage the extra humidity and moisture around those roots. We'll get them down in the pot, and once they get down in the pot they will take off. So it's going to be okay. It was a problem, now it isn't. Those roots weren't pushing on like that last time I watered it, on the second. So that's another one. And another one. See, now all I could see, because this plant is very close to the glass, lots of plants in front of it, but I could see the yellow leaf, but now I've picked it up. This is what I'm saying. Get your plants close up and personal, because it's not just a yellow leaf, is it? It's a yellow pseudobulb. And it's soft. It needs to come off. So if I can find my scissors buried in, I've virtually got the whole shelf off. This was the last plant, so everything's buried now, and all the drips on my scissors just went in my coffee. Luckily I finished it. So again, this needs to come off, and depending on what happens now, I may go and get some cinnamon. But I need to cut it right at the very base, like that. It didn't go right through. There we go. Now what I've got to do is check to see if that is clean tissue at the base. Yeah, the tissue at the base is okay. The soggy bit is towards the top where the leaf is and down the back. You can see if I squeeze it, you see it soft, which means there's an infection in there. If it was just old and tired, it will be rock hard and shriveled. Yeah, but a bit of black, leaf going yellow, pseudobulb shriveled and yellow, bad sign. So off with its head. So that's that one. This is one of the Cattleyas that it's just a hybrid, and it was bought as part of the Cattleya series. It's one of two. Can't remember what the series was for. Certainly not for growing in the home. But this one didn't take kindly to the bleach treatment, so its roots aren't as good as they once were. They're not gone, they're just not as good as they once were. And it's sort of hovering at the moment because it's not growing any new growths, which means it's not growing any new roots. So it's but that pseudobulb needed to come off. So the rest of the leaves look okay. The sheaths that it had on it, I believe, have aborted. That will be as a consequence of the root system going down a bit. But there were 3 sheaths. They've dried and gone brown. That doesn't mean to say they definitely won't bloom, but I doubt it. I suspect this is now just gone on hold, and nothing's going to happen now until we get some new growths. And potentially there could be 3 or 4 because it's got so many leads, in which case we'll have a good blooming next time round. So that's that one, another rotten bulb. Now that had a yellowing leaf last time, so from the 2nd to the 14th the bulb rotted. They can go quite quick. So that's that one. Right, next one, unexpected surprise. For once a nice surprise. This is the species Brassia that I got at Burnham's. Vericosa Sea Breeze. 4 lovely strong new growths on here around the front of the plant. We have a spike. Yay! Now these spikes grow very, very long, so don't hold your breath waiting for blooms. But that's the largest of the 4 new growths, and first to push its spike up. The others will follow, I'm sure. So I can mark that one as in my notes as in bud. Yeah, nice little surprise. That certainly wasn't there last time I looked. Because even though I can't see it, when it's on its shelf there's stuff in front of it, because this one goes right up against the glass. It's the brightest light I can give it this time of year. So obviously it's got stuff in front of it. I can't see right down next to the base of the bulbs like that. Anyway, so that's the first bud or spike I found today that wasn't there before. So that's that one. Right, serious problem. This plant is relatively new, yeah? Just trying to think whether it's not one of the Schwerter ones because it hasn't got a Schwerter label. So at this precise point in time I can't remember where I got it from, but just take a look at the overall plant. Those 2 leaves have gone and they have black marks on them. That pseudobulb has marks on it. It's going brown, it's discoloured. If you look at these older leafless pseudobulbs, they haven't lost their colour, they're still green. Now look at this one, it's jet black. And unfortunately, that's the latest growth. And there's the eye, and it has a black ring round it. This is full of liquid. So I can't cut that here. It's full of liquid. If I cut that here, the liquid could fall out into the pot, and then whatever infection that is in the pot. So I'm going to have to take it out into the kitchen and hold the bark and lean it over the sink and cut the bulb. It's difficult to know where to cut this. Very difficult. This was not a good plant when I got it. It just isn't a good plant. And I'm not sure whether it's going to recover now. I really don't know. But that's its latest growth. Nice big fat growth too, but it's gone. There's no point in, you know, was it don't cry over spilt milk or something stupid? It's gone. It needs to come off drastically. And I don't know whether the plant will recover because its only two remaining leaves have lost their green. So this now can't photosynthesize. Maybe taking this growth off will trigger new growth. But I'm going to have to get it out into the kitchen. I'm going to cut it just above the eye because the tissue there looks bright green. And the base is rock hard. So it starts going off here, there. That's still hard at that point. Then it goes soft. So from there up, it's got liquid in it. So I'm going to cut it here, just above the eye. And if that is clean green tissue, I'm going to take the risk and leave it at that point. I will put cinnamon on it. But I'm going to leave the eye area, even though it looks like it might be infected. But we'll give it a chance. I'm just seeing what's underneath the sheath behind the eye to see if that's black. No, that's green. So below the eye it's green, above the eye it's green, around the eye it's black, which may not, you know, that might mean the eye has failed. It's the only one I can see at the moment. So I shall go and deal with that one in the kitchen. So serious problem this time, that's serious rot that is, and the whole plant doesn't look happy to me. It looks pretty grim actually. Might not make it. Right, I thought I'd bring the camera out here because this is worth looking at. This is the black bulb that I've just cut off into what I thought was green tissue. It's not. That's not only black, it's wet. And if you come to have a look at where it's just been cut off, all in round underneath is black and wet. So that whole growth has gone. So I don't know whether I can do this with my scissors. Let's get the big stuff out. So it's just that this is a very thick rhizome and I'm not sure I'd be able to cut that with my little scissors. I'm going to take that right off, right back to there and see what we get. That's got black all round the edge. I think the whole plant's gone, personally. So what do? There's black showing there. I'm going to go back. Just cut into a wet tissue, wet rotting tissue. So I'm going to have to deal with my cutters before I use them again. Right, I'm going back to there and see if I get a clean cut. Yes, that's a clean cut. Now, I don't know whether there's enough plant for it to manage to shoot out again, especially as it hasn't got any green leaves. But that's the best I can do. That was also the piece that was wiring the plant in. So I'm just going to see if I can just twist that wire back over the rhizome. All right, let's see if we can do it left-handed then. Gotcha. It's quite a thick wire, this one, so I can just to stop it wobbling around. And there we go. So that's what's left, and we'll put some cinnamon on that because this is quite a serious infection on this one. I'm having trouble doing stuff one-handed here. Especially as the first cut I did was with my scissors, and they jerked suddenly. You know, in other words, the cut was a very sudden cut, and I pinched my finger between the two handles. And at the moment I'm resisting the urge to go ouch, 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 which I really need to do. I'll do it in a minute. The camera's off. That was funny actually, I said that. When I went for my jab, you know, you take your sleeve up, you could be asking, they're asking you questions all the time. so that they don't have to stop. Yeah, so they don't sit you down and then ask all the questions. They start asking you as you come in the door, and you eventually get sat down and your sleeve goes up and in goes the needle. You know, it's a very, very, you know, conveyor belt sort of process. But when he took the needle out, I looked at the doctor on the laptop putting down all the details and everything, and I said, it's no good, we're going to have to do the whole thing again. And he looked at me and thought, oh God. And then I left a little gap and I said, because I forgot to say ouch. I mean, you can't have an injection without saying ouch, it's all wrong. He thought I was serious. Some people got no sense of humour. Anyway, that's that one done. We'll put it back and keep our eye on it, because I'm not happy with this. And that's the next one back. Yeah, at the moment, rock hard and discoloured. So I need to keep my eye on it. But yeah, not good. I haven't had that one long. So I would suggest that arrived with the problem, and it's just got worse. I doubt that sort of thing doesn't normally happen to a strong, healthy plant. So I think that one just wasn't too good when I got it. Anyway, we'll see if we can get it going again. We can but try. Right, next one. This came from Jeff's. And you might say, what on earth is wrong with that? Well, actually nothing, but there is. What there is, this is quite a heavy plant, rather large, sturdy structure to it, yeah? It's got moss growing on the top of the pot, and yet it seems to be in bark. And if I just move the moss to one side, the bark, you probably won't be able to see it, has completely broken down and is turning into soil. Needs a repot. Now, do I wait for a new growth, or do I get on with it? Well, at the moment it's not growing. That hasn't seen any water since the 2nd of February, and it's not going to see any today, which means it's going to now wait possibly another 10-12 days before I even look at it again. It's not going to get watered. So it's not a problem, but it could be down the line. If I watered that now, that would go from damp to soggy. And we've got cold weather, shorter days, even though they're getting longer, no good. So no water because of what it's in. Yeah, and the fact it's not actually growing. So yeah. Now that could have been a problem. If I'd been in a rush and a bit slapdash, that could have got watered. And that might have been the end of the root system, if there even is one, because I haven't had it out the pot yet. So, put to one side. Needs a repot, probably 2nd week in March, something like that, when I know our day lengths are back and you know, the plant's going to be happier with the temperatures and everything. So, no water for you. So, that's that one. That was easy. Right, next one is not an immediate problem, but it is a problem. This is my Epidendrum something comet. I think it's Comet Valley Orange Star, but whatever it is, it has orange flowers and they're very attractive and last ages. Now what we've got is 2 flower spikes, yeah? So those canes are extending and forming their flower spikes. But what we've got is an unhappy plant. And certainly this one that's got the spike on is a kiki. That's starting from there, that much above the pot. Yeah, so it's a kiki. And strangely enough, so is this one. That's a kiki. That's that much above the pot. Is there anything growing from the base of the plant? No. Why not? Well, first of all, it's dry. Why is it dry? Because last time it was soaking wet and it didn't get watered, and it was the time before as well. That hasn't been watered for at least 4 weeks. Now it's dried out. So what's the problem? It's a giveaway when you're watering something in a normal cycle, but that one's not dry. It's not dry because the media is too fine and it's breaking down. So again, it's bark that's crumbling. It's been in the pot too long. But it does have some reasonable roots. So that can get left out, not put at the back of the shelf where it was, and go in the kitchen for a repot over the next day or two. Doesn't matter when, it's not urgent, but it does need doing. And at that time, I will have a good think as to whether I separate the kikis off, bearing in mind old canes never bloom again. Oh, there's one. There's one new cane down there that's actually near the very base. It hasn't actually got a spike on it yet. Yes, it has. So there's 3 spikes, not 2. And there are some kikis part way up the plant. So it's not growing at the base of the plant. The base of the plant is not happy. So it's not an immediate emergency, but it needs doing. It needs doing now, because these kikis with the flower spikes on have got some roots. And I think if they got in some media that had some air around it, perhaps, they might grow a bit better. So we'll leave that one to one side so that it can be dealt with. Not today. I'm watering today. I don't try and do too much all in one day, and rugby's on this afternoon, so we won't be doing orchids in here. Hey, we all love that sound, don't we? Because we're all thinking now, what's going off in my house? Well, it's not in your house, it's in my house, and it means my loaf's ready. So I shall have to take a break now and get it out of the oven and out of its tin, so that it can crisp up. If I leave my loaf in the tin that it cooks in, it starts creating moisture around the edge and it turns the crust a bit soggier. It's not quite so nice, so I like to get it out while it's still hot, and then it dries off nicely and I've got a nice crisp crust then. Anyway, that's that one. Needs dealing with. It needed dealing with last time. It might even still need dealing with next time, but I suspect the fact that I'm going to put it to one side, it will actually get done now. I'll just put it on my workbench, so it's not in my way, but it's not back on its shelf, because this one lives up near the glass, so it's got 2 or 3 plants in front of it, so it's easy to forget. So that's that one. Okay, I'm going to finish on this one today. Keep stopping and starting like this. It's taking me twice as long as normal. I mean, I'm well round. I mean, I've done everything over this side and all down through this centre one, apart from the 2 pots at the bottom. So I've only got this bit to do, which isn't a huge number of plants, but they can wait till tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Anyway, this is the awaited Spectabile in the bucket, which is far too big for that plant. And these are not fully open yet, although I've never had these blooms before. They are not fully opened. Unfortunately, in my grow room, we've been spoilt. Because I've got Dendrobium alexandrae, there's not a lot of difference between these 2 blooms. Not a lot at all. Yeah, these are bigger, and as they're not fully opened, excuse me, there may be some detail that I haven't seen yet, but they're on their way. Once this spike is fully opened and all 5 blooms are fully open, I'll film it again so that we can have a good look, and I'll get the camera in nice and close. But it's not fully open yet, but it's on its way, and at the moment, as far as the plant's concerned, no signs of new growth, and the fact that it's in the bucket, and I suspect it hasn't been in there that long because this bark is shiny new. Where are the roots likely to be? Are they likely to be all around the edge of the pot? No. They're highly likely to be down the middle of the pot, as I think it hasn't long been in this pot. Yeah? And was more than likely in a much smaller one beforehand. So when I water this one, I tend to water quite close into near where the plant is, and don't put any water around the edge, because if there's no roots there, it's just going to stay wet. Yeah? So, yeah. We'll finish on that one. I know this was a bit unusual today, and it's probably going to come over a bit bitty, but we've come across various types of problems, various types of solutions, and quite honestly for me, talking about problems is one thing, showing them is another. And you don't often get, I say that, seems like we had quite a few today, but given the number of plants, there weren't that many problems really, and some of them have probably been building up. But the problem is, when you want to talk about problems and diseases and stuff, having an actual example is very unusual. Well, it should be. If it's not, then, you know, perhaps there's a cultural issue. But at the end of the day, we don't get that many problems that often. So doing a session like this where we can find problems as we go, which is normally how you find them anyway, and deal with them, or at least talk about the solution, I think is not a bad Sunday chat. Bit different, and as I said, it'll come over a bit bitty, but there we go. And as I say, I'll end on that, even though that's not fully open, and you can't, I doubt if I can get that close enough to see much, really, not in this light. No, I can see it's blurry. But once the bloom's open, we'll have a nice close look. There we go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.